My name is Nyabuto Nyachio, and I will be the lead judge for this tournament. I am accompanied by my panelist, Jerry Karaoke, and Mr. Elijah Bakari. Our motion for today reads, "This House regrets indigenous seeds." From team proposition, we have Kabarak University, and from team opposition, we have Kenyatta University. I now welcome the first proposer.
Thank you, panel, for this opportunity. I'm the Prime Minister, and we propose the motion that this House regrets the use of indigenous seeds. What is an indigenous seed? Indigenous seeds are those that are produced, grown, or they live naturally in a particular country or climate. Take notice that the moment any improvement, any enhancement is done on this, it ceases to be indigenous. That's the threshold. The moment any enhancement is made on it, it becomes a hybrid seed. And that's why proposing it to go to you the advantages. As we address this issue, we seek to demonstrate the need of food security, food safety, and economic empowerment of our people today. There is increase in population growth, and as such, we do need to increase our food production. With that, the indigenous foods have not maximally been able to increase the food production. On to issue of food security. It means that food security means that there's availability of food, it is accessible. How then does this hybrid seed motivate food security? When you have increase in food production, it is cheap and easy for the people to acquire it. But when you have indigenous seeds producing low amounts of food, it is expensive because of the scarcity to access it. That's when you realize that the hybrid seed actually meets the threshold of food security in food production, in ensuring that it is available and it is accessible. We know that the opposition may come here and propose that the food that is actually, the seeds actually that are hybrid do not produce nutritious foods. However, we rebut them and tell them that in this food, when we have hybrid seed, it is actually, research is done on it to ensure that there is proteins, there is carbohydrates, there is vitamins, there is minerals, there are fibers that are essential for the human body to grow. And therefore, we have actually met food security by use of hybrid seeds. Secondly, we address the issue of climate change. Climate change is a global thing. It's a global issue. It's being addressed everywhere across the world. This is something that you cannot avoid. And as such, there's need for us to opt to have a hybrid seed that can survive or thrive in all environments, as opposed to an indigenous seed that's only rooted to a particular environment. Because in the clear definition of an indigenous seed is that it is only actually adapted to its own environment as opposed to a new environment. Therefore, the hybrid seed will come in and will be able to suffice that it will be of more production as opposed to an indigenous seed. We go to the issue of research. Okay, panel, we noticed that research has not been extensively done on the indigenous seeds. That's why people based on assumption that these foods have actually thrived in hard conditions, they've actually survived pests and diseases. They forget that these seeds may actually host pathogens in them, but because they are used to actually surviving in such environment, you may not take notice. Until extensive research is done on them to ensure that they are not hosting pathogens, there's a very high risk of people consuming pathogens without their knowledge. Therefore, we prefer hybrid seeds, whereby this hybrid seed, there's extensive research on what diseases can it, is it prone to. There's also solution to, if there happens that there is actually diseases and there's climate change, it can thrive in that environment. That's why then the hybrid seed stands a better chance as opposed to an indigenous seed. We go and address the issue of diversity. Actually, opposition may propose before this House that there's diversity in food, indigenous seeds, we have more to choose from it. But however, we submit before this House, diversity is only found in the hybrid seed. There was need to enhance the seed, the indigenous seed, to come up with the hybrid seed, because there was seen that we could get diversity from the hybrid seed. How does it come about? Apart from the food crop production, we get cash crop production. And this is where the economic value also comes in. The hybrid seed comes with economic advantages to it. You are able to produce what to eat, you're able to produce what to sell, you're economically empowered. We need people who are well fed, they are able to produce the economy by manpower, and they're also able to generate cash flow for themselves. On to our other submission before this House is that, okay, as we're talking about hybrid seeds, what are we proposing? Maximum utility of resources, maximum utility of our people. We need to have maximally sufficiently feed our people so that they can be able to give good manpower. We also have economic empowerment for them through cash crop farming, and with that we can be able to utilize all resources. Secondly, we're also using our land. More land has been left bare and has left to society just grass or any other things growing which may not be of more value. We need to feed a population that is rapidly growing, and it's only the hybrid seed that will come in to go and ensure that it is going to actually utilize that land that has been left about. Therefore, we are showing you maximum utility of land, maximum utility of our people. As a result, we propose that we all move to hybrid seed. Secondly, opposition may propose before this House the peak season for hybrid seeds. Panel, take notice that we have different varieties of hybrid seeds that produce different foods. Therefore, throughout the year, during the peak seasons, we will always have a food stuff that is available, and it's always available in wide ranges, because it is not just centered that only this particular species is going to only this particular. It's not centered that only carbohydrates will be available in a particular season. No, all these seasons are different, and all these seasons come with them with different hybrid crop seeds that can thrive in that season. Therefore, issue of peak season does not hold value in this debate, because hybrid seeds will actually ensure there's good flow of food and availability throughout the year. With that, I'm so proud to propose, and I rest my case. Thank you.
I now welcome the first opposer to the floor.
So recognize the major bone of contention in today's debate is to feed our developing or growing population, and how easy it is for these people to access food. That is the major issue that the motion before us sets for us today. How exactly do these people access food? How easy it is for them to access food? And is this food accessible to them at all times of the year? So what we bring to you as opposition are three major things. First of all, what indigenous seeds mean to the growing society or the growing economy. First of all, you have to understand that the reason why we have what we call hybrid seeds are because of the indigenous seeds. We have that hybrid nature of these seeds because we have been able to couple up the traits that these indigenous seeds hold in order for us to obtain some traits from them. So you have to recognize that from indigenous seeds is how exactly hybrid seeds come. So we need to retain this indigenous seeds for us to continue our research towards attainment of proper traits that comes from us developing this. So first of all, you have to recognize that we need a society to maintain the presence of indigenous seeds, because from this we can be able to continue our research to ensure crop improvement, and that's what we want. Two, we have to acknowledge that being that Africa is a dry land, and being that the current changes in climate and all that, we need a crop that can be able to resist and to have a high affinity to these conditions. Three, you also have to recognize that even though we have indigenous seeds patented to survive in a certain particular area, you have to recognize that these seeds can actually be spread to areas through coupled up with improved crop husbandry. They can be transferred to other areas and grow in those areas too. So I'll explain my three major points in this sense. First of all, retainment of a source of research for us to continue crop improvement. You have to recognize that if we wipe out indigenous seeds, there won't be a point at which we can continue our research to attain crop improvement, because as I said again, crop improvement comes from us studying the traits that are present in the indigenous seeds. We have to research and couple up the traits that are present in indigenous seeds to produce some certain form of hybrid nature. So if we extinct this, it means we have lost our source of research of continuing crop improvement. Two, you have to recognize that adaptability and the robust nature of indigenous seeds. These seeds are resistant to adverse weather conditions, be it alkalinity, acidity, dry nature. So we need these seeds to survive in areas, and if we keep maintaining these seeds, it means we can spread these seeds to other local areas. We can transfer them to other local areas coupled up with newly improved crop husbandry. We can have these seeds from their native areas transferred to other areas where they can thrive. So the issue that these seeds thrive only in particular areas is totally out of this debate, because these seeds can be transferred to other areas and grow in on those areas and thrive in these areas. And you also have to recognize that the accessibility of these seeds has been there since, and even though the produce might not be as robust as those that we have in hybrid nature, you have to recognize that these seeds produce at all times of the year, and we want our citizens to access food at all times of the year, not that when it comes to a certain season we move to a certain form of hybrid because we want to get this. Recognize that we want this citizen to access food throughout the year, not just at a particular season when we can say this certain form of hybrid seed thrives in this environment, this certain thrives in this season and all that. You have to recognize that these indigenous seeds produce in a certain form of way to enable farmers who have meager incomes access food, to enable their families access food in the most and least expensive way ever. Also, you have to recognize that if we are to attain nutrition and what we call ease of accessibility of food, you have to recognize that some of these farmers depend on these indigenous seeds. If we want to develop a society where we have people prioritizing hybrid seeds to what these native farmers have, these native farmers prefer, you have to recognize that you're taking away their source of income. These people depend on this, and having to supply a higher need or a higher provision for hybrid means that you're taking away of the source of income. You have to retain their culture. You have to have these farmers maintain their source of income while at the same time exercising their need to develop further. So the three major things I said, first of all, if we wipe out indigenous seeds, we are wiping out our slate of crop improvement. If we wipe out indigenous seeds, we are taking away the source of income of small-scale farmers. If we wipe out indigenous seeds, it means that we do not have a sense of belonging to what our native elderly people had before. So we have to maintain a world where we have these hybrid seeds for three major purposes. Ease of accessibility throughout the season, not when it comes to a certain season that you move to this form of hybrid nature because it produces more. You have to recognize that producing more isn't what the growing population needs. This population needs to be fed throughout, not just at a particular season, because recognize that accessibility of this huge produce that is gotten from hybrid isn't accessible to all those people. You might produce more, but how exactly are the common Mwananchi accessing this feed from the farmers?
I now welcome the second proposer to the floor.
Our panel, thank you for this opportunity. Article 43 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 postulates the following, that every person has the right to be free from hunger and to have adequate food of acceptable quality. On the issue of quality, we are going to debate whether hybrid food is clearly more of good quality than the indigenous foods, or whether indigenous foods have better quality than hybrid foods. But that is not our point of fight or something, because the Constitution clearly states one thing: acceptable quality. Let's think about that today. The important question again to us as debaters today is why the indigenous foods have clearly reduced. And number one, the answer is this: that there has been a rising population of this country since time immemorial. And number two, there is the introduction of cash economy and wage labor. I'll clearly elucidate the issue of a rising population. I will quote a report by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, 1987, that our population in this country, Kenya, was actually 23.7 million. Of 2020, a panel, our population has grown to 53 million. At that one, we've increased for like 23 million. Let's remember this. In 1987, we had the indigenous plans. They were clearly of existence, but there was still what we termed hunger. We clearly relied on indigenous foods, indigenous crops. That was our main source of income, our main source of food, and it was what we survived on. But there was still hunger in this nation. That's why we bring the bigger picture: hybrid seeds. Then now, what are hybrid seeds? Hybrid seeds are just an improvement of these indigenous seeds. How are we going to do this improvement, or how is this improvement done? By what we term cross-pollination. Now, Chair, I want to, on the second, with the rising population and with hybrid seeds, we will be clearly able to feed the rising population. And then there is the issue of a cash economy, that the society currently have moved from the school of thought that let's till our land, let's do these crops so that we get the food. But the society has moved to where people are looking for money to buy the food instead of tilling the land to get the food. And then there's the issue of our wage labor. During the existence of the indigenous crops, people just wanted food and they will do barter trade and kind of stuff. But at this point in time, there's the way you go and work and get money. So with the money, when working, you won't get the time to go to land and till your land and get the indigenous foods and crops. But with money, I will be able to buy the crops. Then there's the issue of availability of the indigenous foods. Indigenous crops are clearly not available in our current society. They are available, but their numbers is quite minimal. So the introduction of hybrid foods, hybrid seeds and foods are produced in large scale, and their production in large scale is easier because, one, they grow faster and are easier to grow. They are disease resistance, and then thirdly, they grow uniformly. I will not have the case as of that of indigenous foods, where we have some larger seeds, some larger fruits, while while others are small. But in hybrid, the whole entire crop pattern is the same. So, Chair, I'll also talk about the issue of climate change. With climate change, we found that since the indigenous foods, the climate that existed at that time is clearly a different one. And with us, with the clear fact that indigenous foods have failed to provide for us, let's find a new thing that is going to survive this new climate change. And that thing is only one thing: hybrid seeds and crops. There is the question of research. There has been no clear research on the issue of indigenous seeds, and that is something that is clear to us. Indigenous means backdated or something like that. But with the hybrid seeds and crops, they come with like a full report on them. This is the duration you require to grow them. This is the pattern that they will grow after this period of time. This is the type of produce that you will get. But with indigenous foods, you'll just be gambling with them. I will be saying that let's just try this kind of substance, a kind of thing. And our last submission is this: we are not going to do away with indigenous food. What we are going to do, they are going to act as a subsidiary to the hybrid food and seeds. Yes, thank you.
I now welcome the second opposer to the floor.
Panel, as I begin, I'm going to break this debate down into a somewhat Unabomber trichotomy. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the simple truth, the hard truth, and the impossible truths of this debate. First things first, the simple truth of this debate is that we need food security and food safety. No one has actually said that we don't need food security or food safety in this debate. So everyone agrees with this. The hard truth in this debate is the fact that food security and safety can best be achieved through the readily available materials, which are the indigenous crops or seeds, which these people do not want to come to terms with. The impossible truth of this debate is that food security and food safety can be achieved through non-indigenous or exotic food crops and seeds in this case. Now, panel, first things first, food security. We tell you that food security is simply the physical availability, economic and physical access, food utilization, and stability of these three. Now, first things first, when you talk of nutritious value of this food, as much as food is available, we still need the nutritious value of these foods. These guys are only trying to equate nutritious value of food to only carbohydrates, proteins, and vitamins. And we tell you that this is still science that is still evolving. We still have indigenous seeds that are not well understood. As they actually noted, research has not actually been well done on these indigenous seeds. But the much research that has been done actually paints a picture of the better life, the kind of better life that indigenous seeds present. We have the likes of the DVC DVC research in JKU art universities who actually support indigenous seeds and actually claim that indigenous seeds actually help eliminate lifestyle diseases. Now, they are not even trying to curb these lifestyle diseases. We actually obviously need to have food crops or sources of food that can actually withstand time or other harsh situations. Now, they actually tried and talked of climate change. They don't really try and explain what they mean by climate change. Do hybrid seeds actually help curb climate change in some way? They don't really. They're trying to claim that hybrid seeds actually can withstand climate change. Yet we don't really see this as a possibility in any way, since hybrid seeds are ever actually have to be improved by scientists and all that. We understand that indigenous seeds, being the fact that they can actually thrive in the endemic regions or these native regions, then they can actually withstand any harsh temperatures that come within these areas. For example, the likes of the amaranth plant, which actually grows in predominantly dry areas in Africa. So we understand that as much as Africa is predominantly a dry region, we still have the amaranth plants which can actually withstand these harsh temperatures and actually still be able to feed these people. Now, we still understand that these indigenous seeds can actually grow even much faster than these hybrid seeds. Just to get back to the amaranth plant, which can actually be harvested in or after about 3 months without necessarily having many other hidden costs that these hybrid seeds actually present. As much as you will buy the hybrid seeds, first of all, you have to buy the hybrid seeds. After buying the hybrid seeds, you still have to buy pesticides, herbicides. All these other hidden costs are within these hybrid seeds. Now, when talking of food safety, we're still talking of preparation and handling to prevent foodborne diseases. The hybrid seeds are also, more prone to aflatoxins as opposed to the indigenous seeds. Now, as much as we want to talk about food safety and food security, we understand that these guys are not in any way trying to present or paint a picture where food security and food safety is actually achieved. We understand that there's still the need for economic and physical access of this food. Remember, if only 10% of the population were to grow these indigenous foods, then it would mean we would have even surplus for the whole nation. So we would have even done away with the kind of case that they're trying to present, that people simply go to work for money, then they can buy the food. What about those 70 to 80% African women who actually go to work in farms? What about them? And as much as they're working in farms, there's still over tillage of land when we employ these exotic methods of farming. There's still the over tillage of land. There's still the carbon sinks, the soil carbon sinks that are actually opened up to actually create much more damage to the atmosphere, creating some form of climate change, which they tried and talk about here. Now, panel, we understand that there's soil health that is actually improved when we actually employ indigenous seed farming. We understand that since these indigenous seeds or crops are compatible with the soil, then the soil health is actually improved. There's crop health that is also improved. Interdependence among these indigenous seeds and plants is actually improved.
Their motion of the day sought to address the question as to whether there are challenges within the use of indigenous seeds. From team proposition, we get to see 3 key points: food safety, food security, and economic empowerment. These 3 are later built up on with climate change, economic empowerment, and the maximization of the utility principle towards land and agriculture at large. Diversity principle as well is clearly seen from team proposition, whereby they tell us the aspect as to why hybrid seeds are going to be the sole solution towards the issue of indigenous seeds farming. And also they emphasize on the fact that indigenous seeds are not being wiped out, but rather are going to act as a subsistence and as a subsidiary towards the hybrid seeds that are going to go to the market. And it is from this point that we see the key arguments from team opposition being watered down on the aspect of sustainability, availability, and adaptability, which all 3 key points were well covered by team proposition. And it is for this reason that by a unanimous decision, we all found in favor of team proposition on the grounds that they stood out a better chance with their feasibility model on climate change, diversity principle, and economic empowerment.